he was Japanese. He was Japanese. Yes, ma'am.
You know on in chapter 7 it says most democratic or least democratic? What do you mean by that? Like what country?
Okay, most democratic and least democratic. We did talk about what makes the United States one of the most democratic countries in the world and what makes the United States one of the least. What is the specific on that?
We have the most elections but the least amount of voters.
We have the most elections of any country in the world, so that would make us the most democratic country in theory, but we only rank in the bottom 25th percent. So 3 of 4 countries in the world have a higher voting turnout than we do. So with this in mind, our voter turnout is so low, it makes us one of the least democratic countries. Yes, sir?
Going back to the Korematsu case, you mentioned earlier, this guy, like that was the governor of California.
Governor Warren, Earl Warren, yes.
Yeah, and he went on to become Chief Justice or something like that.
That's right.
Yeah, and you said he had a quote or something, I'm trying to remember it or whatever, like that.
The quote was, from the court case, anytime a classification is made solely upon race, it is immediately suspect. The problem was that in Korematsu, they started it that way, and then basically they came back with a great big but. But, in this instance, citizenship has both rights and responsibilities, so we're justifying making this classification on race. When he was Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, what was the court case that he heard?
Brown versus
The school desegregation case, Brown versus Board of Education. And as governor, he felt like these internment camps were one of the worst decisions that the government and that he ultimately ended up making. So he started off the desegregation case, Brown versus Board of Education, by saying, anytime a classification is made solely upon race, it is immediately suspect. And then, instead of putting a big but after it, he actually followed it up and made it stick, and they desegregated the public schools. Chief Justice Earl Warren. Earl Warren. Okay? Now, as you go through the articles for this one, we had the Walmart article. We had the Thumb article. We had the lawsuit article, and I believe we talked about McDonald's. We talked about Hooters, we talked about pickles and hot coffee, we talked about tripping over mail and how you could sue. We're a very litigious political culture. We had the Addicts article, and the Addicts article is gargantuan because we spent a day discussing the whole idea of sterilization of the crackhead moms. So that's going to be a good one to take a look at. I mean, there's no doubt about this. That one, it's going to be hard not to put that one in a short answer in some form.
Wait,
you know?
what about the moms that are handing out, wait, would you say the crack moms?
The moms that are handing out the crack moms.
Did you say about the crack moms?
The crack moms, that's one of my favorite articles of all. We spent a lot of time, the sterilization.
Oh, yeah, the bus.
The Batman of crack.
The bus.
Yeah.
The Batwoman of crack
The Batman of the crack babies. Yeah, the libertarian said this. So, I mean, when you look, I mean, these articles, there are fewer articles, but they're really, they're fairly intense ones, and we spent some time on these. The other thing to make sure, and I would have a look at this, the post board for the Electoral College, because we spent a day on the Electoral College. We know Joshua is most likely to be elected president, and when you think back on this, there were a lot of different ways that you could look at this. How do you get elected? How do you raise money? You know, that kind of thing. A lot of you that posted did really well. A number of people never posted at all for some reason. So with this in mind, if you didn't post, take a look, because there's a lot of good information on there, and that Electoral College thing, that those of you that did post did really, really well on. So with that in mind. Anything else that y'all can think of? Yes, sir.
Do we have to know anything about the bowling alone article?
The bowling alone article, what was that one, Leon?
Oh, I couldn't find that.
Okay, that one was from, was that chapter 6?
Seven.
Political culture, okay. Chapter 7, political culture. It was on the left-hand side, page 122. It says here, this is about 5 lines above the last indented paragraph, it says, Harvard political scientist Robert Putnam noted, for example, that the number of people bowling has increased, but league bowling has declined. His article, Bowling Alone, caught much attention and controversy.